Gift of the Education. It's an NPC, NPO, and PBO that was set up by students to provide low-cost tutoring services to scholars from grades 10 to 12. Funds from which are then reinvested to help provide free tutoring to underprivileged scholars in the same grades. We thought we should speak to the founder and CEO of Gift of the Educators. Sahil Rewachanda is on the line with us. Good morning, and thanks for making time to speak to us on UFM.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us on the show this morning. We really appreciate it.
It's only a pleasure. We're inspired by the work that you do, but let's get into it. Tell us a little bit more about Gift of the Educators. I mean, how it started and what the mission was. What's your mission rooted in?
Sure thing. So the idea behind Gift of the Educators, as you mentioned, is essentially an organization, or rather a family, as we like to refer to it as, that looks at educating those that can afford it and those that cannot afford it. So the idea started back in, well, even before 2020, even though the organization was officially founded in 2020. And I think it dates back to when I was still in high school. So essentially all that happened was I'd like to think of myself as a bit of an academic. You know, I'd like to help students. That's something I'm quite passionate about. And if I could just share a small story.
Sure.
I think back when I was in high school, I think when you look at business, when you want to be an entrepreneur, etc., you know, you want to try and find ways of making money. So I remember looking at it and thinking, well, you know, this is a skill that I have. Maybe I can charge students for my tutoring services. And I remember having a conversation with my dad one day. This is something I'll never forget. And he basically told me that, well, we come from a background that isn't as, or rather is fortunate compared to other students. So why charge for something when you have a roof over your head, when you have running water, when you have electricity? And I think that really sparked a social side or social entrepreneurship side to myself. And I think since then, it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. After high school, of course, I needed some pocket money, trying to become a bit more independent. So I did charge. I did have a bit of a sole proprietorship.
Sure.
But then in early 2020, that's when, you know, I looked back and I decided, well, you know what? Let's use what my dad said and let's actually start a non-profit. So that's when the dream started. And there have been some hiccups and some issues along the way. So we really have been trying to work on our underprivileged division, if you want to call it that. We've really been trying to kick it off and trying to get that started. And just in terms of some background information, we are based in Joburg South. So those are the kind of areas that we target. So areas like Lenasia South, Aikenhof, Orange Farm, those are, you know, there's some really poor communities around those areas. And that's who we're really trying to uplift at the end of the day.
All right, good enough. I mean, you have our ears, and if there's anything we can do to support you, by all means, eh?
Now, tell us, brother. We all know the phrase "education is the key to success," but I'm gonna be that guy right now. Is it really the key to success? I mean, especially considering that we've seen so many people just reach greater heights without that solid education background.
Of course. So it's there are multiple ways to look at it, and I think when you say that, or rather when you question if education really is the key to success, I think we're looking at very rare situations, and albeit, you know, rare situations do happen when someone doesn't have that background, that, you know, educational background, and they still achieve success. So that's still quite possible. Essentially, all we're saying is that with education, you can open up almost every door, and you give yourself almost a bit of a platform to achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. And that's why I think specifically with Gift of the Educators, it is difficult to assist everyone. So we do look at students that are extremely ambitious, you know, that come from a poor background. That's the first thing, true. But the second thing is that they have a bit of a passion to try and uplift their family, uplift their community. So whether it's, for example, starting a business after school, after, you know, university, and trying to get their family and the community out of that poverty situation, that's basically the platform that we're trying to create. So as you mentioned, yes, education is the key to success to some extent, but we try and provide facilities over and above that, things like mentoring, guidance, things that you aren't necessarily just taught at school, even things like human values. So I think at the end of the day, if we look at our poorer communities, they are plagued with a lot of things that affect them, you know, a lot of negative things. And students tend to fall in these negative traps. So we really try and teach them things that they aren't necessarily exposed to. because of their surroundings, because of the way they've grown up. So it's definitely about education, but it's a step further than that as well. And maybe that mixture, if you call it, is the real key to success. It's difficult to find a key to success, but if we can at least provide a solid foundation, that's a good start.
And then, as it stands, you've announced that you offer low-cost tutoring for scholars from grade 10 to 12. How important is tutoring, though?
So, at the end of the day, we hope that education from your school, etc., is sufficient. But at the same time, there are students that feel that they want to improve their marks, or they want to do something additional. Now, of course, teachers at school, etc., are only limited by the capacity that they really do have. So I think at times tutoring comes into play where students feel that they need that additional help, but aren't getting it because of, as I mentioned, the capacity by their teachers, etc. So that's where we come into play, and we try and help students that feel like they want to improve their marks, whether it's from a fail to a pass or from a pass to an 80. That's where we come in. We work quite closely with the student. And as you mentioned, the key there is low cost. I think the way that we try and, I wouldn't say promote it, but the way that we try and speak to parents about it is that, by educating your child, you're effectively educating a student that can't afford it at the same time. And that's the whole idea there. That's what really makes us different, because the way that we work, yes, we're a non-profit tutoring organization, but those aren't very common in South Africa. At the end of the day, lots of things are driven by money, and that's where we're different. The money is just there to keep us sustainable, essentially.
Yeah, and is the program nationwide, and how low cost is it exactly?
Sure. So the program for your paid side, or for students that can't afford it, is national. So how that works is we essentially provide tutoring via Zoom, online services, and so forth. And they also have access to things like our application, which is on the Google Play Store, etc. So that is nationwide. And in terms of low-cost tutoring, well, it's low-cost compared to some of the profit-making companies. So if you don't mind, I can just give you an indication of the cost.
Oh, sure, please.
Yeah, lovely. So we're looking at about 100 Rand an hour for our online Saturday classes. So we do things on Saturdays specifically because that's when students are the most free. And we generally sit and we work with them for about 3 hours per subject. So the subjects that we do focus on are maths, accounting, and physics specifically. And those run in 3-hour blocks over a Saturday, every Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about an app you have?
Yeah. So if you log on to, unfortunately, we're not on iOS at the moment, so sorry to all the Apple users. But in terms of Android, if you go into the Google Play Store and you just look up the words Gift of the Educators, you'll find our app. There's a lot of free tools on there, aside from just past papers. There are also things for like matric students. So, for example, your APS calculators, etc. Because we do know that a lot of students have a hard time applying to universities. So, for example, if you're not sure on how APS works for most of universities, because it can be a bit different, we do accommodate for both. And those are the free types of features that we have on there. For the underprivileged students, the aim in the long term, I'll just share quickly, is that we're trying to get our app zero rated, so that students that are not able to, afford things like data, etc., don't have to worry about that, and they can actually access all the features for free. So that's the goal in the near future.
Well, good luck with that. And, judging from your drive, at some point this will come to fruition. Now, for some of us parents who are interested, getting our kids, involved with you guys, what's the procedure?
Sure. Thank you so much. So all that they would need to do is contact, for example, myself or someone at the organization. So the best email to use is either mine, which is Sahil at gote.org.za, or info@gote.org.za. And then from there, they are more than welcome to get in touch, and we can try and see how we can assist them from there, either get a package together for their student specifically, or get them to join one of our classes. And again, aside from just classes, we do a lot of other things, like, for example, monthly assessments where we assess the student to make sure they're on the right level. Additional things like progress reports for the parents. So it's not just your your child's school report that you're able to base their academic performance on, but it's also what we provide over and above that, aside from things like 24-hour access to our tutors and all those kind of benefits.
Well, Sahil, you're one of those people that we wish bigger success, and may this project of yours just grow nationally. Our kids need as much help as they can, and we're grateful that you found it in your heart, to be able to assist, our kids, and particularly with the 0 rating of your app. Good luck with that, and we'll be chatting to you on WhatsApp very soon. I probably have 1 or 2 students that I want to refer your way, and thanks for chatting to us. Yeah.
No, fantastic. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
That's all right. Lovely. The biggest thing for our underprivileged side that we really need, I think, to kick off is just for anyone that's listening and that's based in the South. I think the transportation. So we do have offices in the South, but of course, just getting the students to offices is the biggest thing. So if there are any, for example, taxi drivers, anyone that's interested in helping on a Saturday, if they can get in touch, we would be absolutely grateful for that.
All right.
Yeah, that's just it from my side. Thank you once again so much for the opportunity just to share our story, who we are. And hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Yeah, definitely. It's a beautiful initiative, this, and we'll chat to you soon for sure.
Definitely. Have a good one.
You too, man. That's where we leave it. Sahil Rawachanda is the founder and CEO of Gift of the Educators. And, they've got a low-cost tutoring service for scholars from grades 10 to 12. We know that's when the fit hits the shan. As far as schooling is concerned, that's how I said it.
It's okay.
It came out right.
It's okay.
You don't want your kids to be struggling, and the next thing, there's particularly at grade 11, lack of confidence, and they get to the matric year, and then things are crazy. If you can get them extra tutoring, check out these guys, Gift of the Educators.